Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, lovely people. We are live with another episode of Unsilence Grief. And today I've got the lovely Laurie-Ann Murabito with me. And Laurie-Ann and I got introduced through Steve Gamblin, who I just had on Unsilence Grief a couple of weeks ago. And his story was so beautiful about his lovely wife. And then he has his lovely friend Laurie-Ann and said, "Hey, do you want to speak on a podcast? I know Marie, and it's been such a beautiful conversation. And here we are. I'm so grateful that we connected. But before I go any further, I am going to ask you to introduce yourself to our audience. Welcome, Laurie-Ann. Thank you so much for being
Mm.
here.
Thank you. Steve could not say enough good things about you.
I love it.
First off. So, believe it or not, I'm a reformed painfully shy girl who accidentally said yes to a speaking opportunity.
I love that. I love this
And
story so much
literally,
already.
like, I was the girl who was like looking down at the floor.
Mm,
And because I said yes, that led me down the avenue of the professional speaking world, where I spoke about leadership and corporate engagement,
mm.
because I really do believe that work should be fun and not a chore.
Yes.
And today I actually help people lead with their voice,
Mm.
speak and share their message, and basically showcase their expertise to attract clients.
I love this. I love this. I love this because, I'm in the speaking world and it just
Mhm.
really takes people to take you by the hand, lead you and show you how to actually do it properly. There's so much more to speaking than we actually think. It's not just grabbing a microphone and speaking up. There's an art to it. It's a craft. It's a really beautiful way to find a way to portray your story, but do it in a way that people are really connecting with you from heart to
Mm.
heart. And that takes so much more than just speaking. And I could talk about this for a whole while.
Yeah,
However,
me too.
and we might at the end of the podcast, but I really would love to go to your story first because there's such a, I want to say, heartwarming story to what actually got you to do what you do today. So I'm going to get you to hit the rewind button for as fast back as you want to take us. So lead the way, Lorian.
Okay.
Mm.
It was 2004. And during that year, within an 11-month period, I went from being a girlfriend to a fiance to a wife to a widow. And I didn't expect that. As you know,
Oh.
like, this was my first husband. And I had waited. I was 36 years old when
Mm.
we got married. And like I say that with a smile because there was so much joy and so much love. Like I literally was like, this is the man that I've been waiting for.
I love it.
And that was, yeah, I just celebrated the 21 years of his passing
Mm.
just this past November 1st.
Yeah.
And he passed away from cancer, which to me is like the equal opportunity disease. It doesn't care about your education. It doesn't care
Yeah.
about how much money you have. It
Yeah.
doesn't care about how old you are, what your age is. It can just be like really devastating, but also at the same time, like I feel like because it was cancer,
Mm.
it was a gift because we knew the time was short or getting shorter, I should say. And you have that opportunity to say goodbye, to
Yeah.
have these cherished conversations, unlike other people that I know who have like they just pass away suddenly, like how Steve's wife passed away. It was just extremely sudden and unexpected. So I
Yeah.
feel like that was a gift for me, and that is how I kind of looked at it.
I love that you say that because I so often talk about the hidden gifts in adversity, and sometimes uh, we only see them in hindsight, or very often we only see them in hindsight.
Mhm.
I know, Lorianne, that you have got the most beautiful and romantic love story, how you guys met and connected. You told me that briefly in our quick catch up before.
Yeah.
Um, And I love it. It's made for a Hollywood movie, seriously. Like when I listen to
Mm.
you, I'm like, oh my God. So can you please share that with our audience?
Yeah,
Because
it should be a Hallmark
the love
show.
stories, I'm like, oh my God, I love it.
So I was working in a hospital, and this was during the time when the stock market was going crazy. And one of the volunteers in the department, him and I would talk about mutual funds and the stock market. And he brings in this card one day that he got in the newspaper. And he said, I took this guy's class. It's called Preparing for Retirement. It was a 4-week class. He's like, I think you might really like it.
Mm.
And Marie, the interesting thing that I don't think I shared with you was that my first husband, Bob, lost his wife. So he also knew what I was going through. So the volunteer tells me, he goes, he goes, I think something happened because he really talks about preparing and doing estate planning. He goes, he really focuses on it.
Mm.
So I go to class. I'm a good student. If you're a good student and you do all the homework, you get to have a one-on-one session with him. And he's a financial planner. So there I am in his office, trying to listen to him. And I'm just like, oh my God, this man is so good looking. I'm like, look at the papers, Lori, and just look at the papers. And I had to just focus on the papers. And that was the end of that. Like, he didn't ask me to be a client or anything like that.
Mm.
2 years later, I'm living with one of my younger sisters. The relationship that I was in, had fallen through. And I'm telling my sister about this financial planner. I said, I don't know if he's still doing these classes, but let me find out. So I happened to be driving by his office so I can go stop in, and I leave my business card
Mm.
in the door because he wasn't there. He called me the next day. He's like, Laurie-Ann, I'm returning your phone call. You left your business card in my door. And I said, oh, Bob, thank you very much for returning my call. I'm sure my name doesn't mean anything to you. He goes, oh, I remember who you are. He just kind of cut me off. It was like, I remember you. Come to find out,
Mm.
my homework from that one-on-one session had been sitting on his desk as a way to stay connected to me.
Oh.
So I'm telling him about my sister. He's like, well, coincidentally, I'm starting a class and it starts again next week. Fantastic. Could you sign the two of us up? My sister canceled 20 minutes before we have to leave. She's like,
Mhm.
I can't go. You just go. So I go. And I could tell when I walked into class, because I was a little bit late, that I could hear it in his voice that he suddenly got nervous. And during the first break, I got up to go to the ladies' room, and he was like, "You're not leaving, are you?" And at the end of the class, we sat down, we chatted, and he asked me out for lunch. And that was when he did talk about his wife before me. And I remember just the way that he talked about her, and remember like looking at him saying, "You're the man that I've been waiting for.
Oh.
Nice to meet you." Yeah. And so I would say like the rest was history.
Yeah.
Like, we fell in love, and about 2 years later, he proposed. This
Mm.
was after coming back from, he had these tumors. He had meningiomas that were on his spine, and I had literally taken him to across the country to California
Mhm.
because one of our trips into Boston, and Boston has some wonderful medical schools,
Yeah.
wonderful teaching hospitals. But I asked a different question. I said, what would you do if this was your brother? And Maria, probably should tell the audience, like, I have a healthcare background, so I really do know how to navigate things and
Yeah.
ask better questions.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said, what would you do if this was your brother? He said, oh, I'd send him to John Alden. Where's John? That's all I needed to hear. Where's John? Oh, he's at Stanford. So he's in California. He's on the other side of the country.
Mm.
I said, let's call him. They were like, it's 5 o'clock. I said, yeah, and that means it's only 2 o'clock in California. I did end up talking to Dr. Alder, and we had a really nice conversation. He said, my office will call you on Monday.
Mhm.
And because he called me back over the weekend,
Oh, wow.
and his office called me, and I remember saying, they're making the appointment. Can we get out there? And I said, I can't come out just for a consult She goes, "Oh, no, we are scheduling surgery."
Wow.
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
this doctor was known for taking people between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
The surgery did end up paralyzing him.
Mm,
However, I am convinced it also helped him live another year.
mm.
And it was when we returned, like there we are in the rehab hospital,
Yeah.
and I show up every day, and we would like lay in the bed together and we would watch certain TV shows, and he, scooted over and he patted down on the bed. And I think I remember I was kind of in an annoyed mood. I, I was just like, all right, whatever. And I sit down, I lay down next to him. We're watching TV, and he said, "Can you just grab my coat?" I give him his coat. It's like, "What do you need a coat for?" And he pulled something out and he said, would you marry me?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, and he pulls
All of a
out this
sudden, not
ring.
anymore.
He pulls out this ring, and all I could say was, "Put it on." I'm laughing, and I have to say that is something that him and I did every single day, even when we knew that time wasn't on our side. But we just had funny little quirky little things that we would say and do, and jokes about each other. And I
Yeah.
really think it's the humor that
Gives you hope.
yeah, especially for the person who is ill,
Yeah.
that it was so important for me that everybody around him would always be positive and uplifting,
Yeah.
and not have that, "Oh, I'm so sorry for,
Yeah.
like for what's about to happen." It's just like, no, like let's just
Celebrate,
laugh.
celebrate what you have left, like the
Yeah.
spirit you have. I think it is such an important message because there's like my husband always taught me that concept of two choices. You've got a choice to make every single day. Do you look at it from the bright side or from the doom and gloom side? Every single thing, and that
Mm.
was without us knowing that Rob would die early because his death was very sudden. That was years and years before. That was years before I even became a coach. He kept saying to me, two choices, babe. I still hear it. And there is this, when you do know that your days are counted, how do you want to spend them? In doom and gloom, in, this is going to happen soon, or do you want to be here in the
Mm.
now and make everything you can out of,
Mm.
squeeze the last juice out of that beautiful lemon? Do you know what I mean? Yes, you do. Uh,
Yeah.
Tell me about your wedding.
Oh God, it was probably his most pain-free day. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, he was on some pretty heavy narcotics, but I remember him telling me like later, he just like goes, "I don't think I used anything today."
Mm,
And so my husband's in a wheelchair. My
mm,
younger sister was my maid of honor. So two of us are walking, and
mm,
his best friend becomes like the best man, and he is also in a wheelchair.
mm,
He actually used to live right down the street. He became paralyzed from an auto accident. So the two of them had spent so many years having conversations,
mhm.
and he was the person that he turned to when he was like, I can't move my legs, but like I still feel pain, so the phantom pain,
Yeah.
and so he had somebody
Mm,
that he could talk to and go have a cigarette with. And Dominic had a wheelchair accessible car, so they would drive around town and go get McDonald's
good. That's
together when
really
I
good.
was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's you're talking about like what your husband said. You got two choices. You got two choices, babe.
Yeah.
I remember, so on the last day, I must have come in from listening to some really good music in the car or whatever I
Mm,
was doing as an errand, and I came in kind of like bouncy.
yeah.
And there's a hospital bed in our living room, and he says, "Well, you're awfully cheerful for a woman who's about to lose her husband."
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is kind of the sense of humor that we had.
I love this
And
though. I love it so much because
I
no one
went,
can have such a sense of humor. It's just amazing.
yeah. So my response was, huh. And I was very big on order taking, like meaning like what do you want for dinner? He'd be like shrimp scampi. Okay, do you want the low fat version? Do you want the semi-fat version? Or do you want the god awful good and fattening version? So like he would always like it was almost like we lived in a diner. Like I was always, okay, I can make that. I'll be right back. I have to go to the store. So, of course, he says this to me, and I said, well, would you like me to be sad and tearful or smiling and cheerful?
Mm.
And he said, smiling. I said, you got it. It was just like, check.
Like,
Okay. Like
coming right
I
up.
can like yep, order up. And I could do that. And that was something that I learned during the whole process to step into being the person that he needed me to be.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to do that. I wanted to do that for him because I wanted him to look at me and there would be a smile on my face because it gave him hope.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love bringing stories like yours onto Unsilence Grief because there is so much that we do not talk about in the grief space. Our society doesn't feel comfortable talking about death and dying and grief, and everybody treats you like it is something that's contagious. And oh, don't talk about the dead person in the room and all of those things. Where I'm like,
Mm,
we do need to have conversations like yours. I love this. This is so heartwarming. This gives me hope that when people hear that, there are different ways of dealing with grief. And I'm not saying at all that losing your loved one, watching him transition is cheerful and happy. But what I do know is that we do have a choice in how we
mhm,
spend those days and also how we then respond to it. And I'm all for allowing everything in because life is made up with sadness and tears and cheers and beautiful and sadness and anger and I don't know, like there are just so many emotions and we
mhm.
completely accept that they all coexist before somebody dies. Yet as soon as
Yeah.
somebody dies, you go to sad only. Maybe anger is allowed, maybe guilt is allowed, sprinkle in some other negative emotions, but not cheerful, not joy, not happiness. And I am the biggest believer in that the most beautiful way to keep my husband's story alive is to continue the love and connection that we had when he was around. And that doesn't exclude the tearful moments and the sobbing and the breaking down, but it also doesn't exclude the happiness and the joy and the beautiful stories and the love, the love. I am not buying that grief is just the way to show how much you loved. Why can't it be love and joy and happiness to show how much I loved? It can
Right.
be all of it. I don't have to grieve heavier to show how much I loved Rob. I don't believe in that. Everybody needs to find their own way of grieving. I'd like you to share, if that's okay with you, Laurie-Ann, what was your way of grieving? What did you do as soon as your husband
Um,
passed
so
over?
I'll take it back a little bit before his passing. I did ask my younger sister,
Mm,
you know, I I haven't experienced any major death or loss in my life up till this point. And I did a lot of things intuitively. And I asked her, if I make a list, can you make the phone calls? And she was like, yes, absolutely. I'll do that for you. Little did she know it was actually going to be a little bit challenging for her.
mm,
But I did do that. Oh, and I do want to tell the story about my her trying to call my dad.
sure. Yeah, yeah, please, please.
So I make the phone call to her. And so now she's got to go through this list, the
Mm,
different places that I work and different places, people who should be notified. And of course, she's going to call my mom and dad.
yeah.
And my parents are divorced, and my father is at work he works for Raytheon. He's in a plant, and he's also hard of hearing. And he's
Mm,
got a beeper, but he doesn't even hear the beeper that's on his waist.
yeah.
And my sister keeps calling and trying to call. And so finally, she just calls the operator.
Mm,
And the operator says, well, is this an emergency? And my sister's like, um, I don't know. Because she's thinking there's nothing that dad can do right now except to console me. So between me and my sister, we kind of found this a little humorous because she was like, I don't know how to classify this right now. So the operator did think it was an emergency. So they overhead paged him and also asked anybody to find my dad. And my dad did show up later. But my grieving process was I didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
but I did coincidentally get a puppy for my sister, and it was puppy therapy for Bob.
Hmm.
And like this little guy was like very, very young. And she was, I was trying to follow my sister's instructions and she gave me the dog afterwards. She just said, I think you're going to need the puppy more afterwards. So I only named her after Bob passed away. But that puppy woke me up every day at 5:30 because she needed to go outside. It was time to pee, and life revolved around the puppy.
Hmm.
So I was so grateful for that. And then it gave me like now I had to train the dog. But I made lists for myself.
Hmm.
Like I had to go to the hardware store and I had to buy light bulbs, or I had to go to like the next day it would be like I have to go to the office supply store because I need notebooks. Could I have done all of these things in one day? Yes. But I spaced it out. I just gave myself, here's what I need to do. And when I was done doing it, then I sat on the couch and I would watch TV.
Hmm.
Some days very early on, I was sitting down to watch TV at 1 in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Till about 10, 11 o'clock at night is when I went to bed.
Yeah.
And I remember one day thinking, as I was sitting, snuggling up on the couch to turn the TV on, I'm like, it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was proud of myself. It
Yeah.
was 6 o'clock. And I knew that I was healing.
That's just so beautiful. I know exactly what you mean, it's by those measurements that we can put in place for something so intangible. And
Mm,
I want to ask you the story of how you went from that, the time after his passing, and recognizing those patterns to what you do today. Because what you do today is just so beautiful, helping others to find their voice, to share their story, to come back to, how we started the podcast today. Um, Share that transition with us and share with our audience what you do.
thank you. Well, I really was mostly in the leadership and corporate engagement.
Mm.
And that's what I was speaking on because I just felt like I said earlier, that work should be fun,
Yeah.
that we are all leading ourselves. We're not, leadership is not just a title.
Mm.
And it was in 2017 that somebody sent me a text message. But that text message was an answer to something that happened in an airport.
Mm.
I was not in this airport when this incident happened. I just want to clarify that.
Mm.
But an incident happened in the Fort Lauderdale airport here in the United States. You're allowed to travel with your firearms if
Yeah.
you have the right paperwork. And somebody had the right paperwork, picked up their baggage and baggage claim, and that is out of TSA's jurisdiction.
Mhm.
Put his rifle, his firearm together and came out shooting. There are a lot of police at the Fort Lauderdale airport. So
Mm.
luckily, I think he only killed one person and injured a couple. Thank goodness. But it was that incident and I was traveling so much that I was like, universe, I need a new business model.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, the text message comes in. Laurie-Ann, do you write speeches for people? I'm like, no, I just write my own.
Mm.
But because she was somebody that I knew, I agreed to sit down with her and let me help you. She had a
Mm.
failing business
Mm.
and she figured like, hey, if I can make this work, this is something that I can do in retirement. And she was 3 years from retiring from her government job. And I helped her write this speech and she knocked it out of the park.
Mm.
She got 60% of the room to sign up for her email list, and 30% of the room signed up to become clients of
That's
hers.
incredible.
And Marie, it's just like, oh, I wonder if anybody else wants to know what I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what made me pivot.
Mm.
And that pivot literally took a year because I still had leadership keynotes that were on my calendar.
Yeah.
So I was running two different websites,
Yeah.
two different social media,
Mhm.
campaigns,
Yeah. Yeah.
until the last one was done. And that's what I do today. I help people find their story, use their voice, tell their story because, well, like what you're doing here, this is giving other people, like, oh, that's another way to
Yeah.
grieve. And
Yeah.
it also is giving people that permission of, oh, I thought I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But by hearing so many different people's stories that you bring onto your podcast, like
Mhm.
there are so many people that are like, "Oh, I get to do it my way."
Yeah.
So
I
that's
love, I
that's what I that's
love
what I help people do.
I love the whole story, the love story, the transition, what you offer today. Uh, I knew why Steve connected the two of us, that we had to share this story here. I'm so, so happy that you came today to share this. Before we wrap this up, if there's only one thing that you would like people to take away from this, somebody who might be sitting there knowing this is about to happen or it has just happened in this acute stage of that transitioning period of a loved one, what would you like to say to them?
I think the term self-care is a little overused, especially when it comes to grief. So I'm going to say two things.
Yeah,
One is trust your intuition, trust your gut
yeah,
on how
yeah.
to take care of yourself, how to deal with this transition.
Mm,
And the second one is going to be the advice that a grief coach, a grief and dying coach, who was coaching both of us at the same time,
yeah.
said to me. She said, Laurie-Ann, sometimes grief is a slow dance, and other days it's a fast dance.
Mhm,
Meaning it's
mhm.
just different. Like you can't even predict what tomorrow's going to be,
Yeah.
but just to be open and just know that it might be a fast day, it might be a slow dance day.
Mm. I really love that. That's such a beautiful comparison. Laurie-Ann, what
Mm.
is your website? How can people connect with you? And we're going to be
Oh,
in the show notes anyway, but yeah, please.
thank you. You can find me at my website, which is speakandstandout.com.
Mhm.
And from there, you can follow me on your favorite social media. And also, you can find my podcast, which is called Be in Demand.
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned it. Thank you so much for being here. As I said, we will be sharing the links in the show notes. This is live as we speak, so it always takes a bit of a delay before I can go back in and share them. So if you're watching this live, it might not be there, but come back in the next 20 minutes and we'll be sharing it. And if you love this conversation, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for our weekly episodes of Unsilence Grief. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I absolutely love your love story. This is
Thank you.
Laurie-Ann and Marie signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. I need my glasses because I'm not sure which button I just pressed.
I'm like, oh, white